वो होस्ट बनाने की वजह से ये हो गया था।
क्या हो गया? हाँ सर, कौन सर?
हेलो।
हाँ हेलो सर।
बस ये जो था वो नेक्स्ट दिया था मैंने फॉरेन प्रोसेस
हाँ
और तो की थी
हाँ
पिछले साल या पिछले साल और छुट्टी पे है
ठीक है हाँ।
सर लेक्चर
हेलो हेलो sir, I am audible to you. Vedant sir.
Hello sir, hello.
Sir, I am audible to you.
Yes sir, you are audible. Directly you can start the lecture. I will brief about you first
Okay sir.
to the student. Dear student, today we have eminent personality, Dr. Tushar Chaudhary. He is PhD and ME gold medalist and currently working in as an assistant professor in mechanical engineering department at Indian Institute of Information Technology, Design and Manufacturing, Jabalpur. And his area is thermal engineering. Sir, please start with your presentation.
Sure sir.
Handed. ये recording चल रहा है ना?
Yes sir, it is recording sir.
Yes sir.
Wait. Sir, you just disable the participant share screening. Sir, you just make me host sir. Vedant sir.
Yes sir, अभी कर दिया है sir. Okay.
Okay.
रहमान सर देखो।
Yes sir. आगे sure.
It is visible, sir?
Sir, not visible. Please load that. Yes, now it is visible.
Yeah,
Okay.
sir. So let's start. Good evening to all of you. Good evening, students. And I am first of all thankful to Vedant sir to give me an opportunity to give a guest lecture and motivate the students of Raisoni Engineering College of Engineering. And today I will going to give a lecture on hybrid power cycle and renewable energy sources, as it is quite relevant to my PhD work also. And this subject is very quite interesting, as we already study in our 5th semester or even in 7th semester, in which we are going to study the gas turbine cycle or power plant engineering. So in that way, we are going to have this lecture, and through this lecture you will going to have an idea about the various types of power cycle and their application, and how we were going to work in the field of making hybrid power generation. Okay, conventionally in India, what are the practices are going on, we will going to discuss, and then later on how we are going to make it hybrid, we're going to have a lecture on this. So before starting, let me give a brief introduction about myself. This is my academic background. I have done my PhD from NIT Jamshedpur on 2017 in year, and ME from CS VDU, that is Shakracharya Engineering College. Over that I was the university topper, gold medalist. After that, after my PhD, I have joined VIT University, that is Vellore Institute of Technology. Then I have joined the as a lean professor from there. I have joined VIT Bhopal. Over there I was a program chair of BTech Aerospace Engineering. I have worked over there around 2.5 years. Then I have joined Triple ITDM Jabalpur, and now as an assistant professor I am working over here in mechanical engineering department. So let's start with the topic renewable energy sources. So before starting, what is energy? Energy is a capability to produce motion, force, work, change in shape, change in form, etc. It is basically a concept drawn from classical physics while explaining work. Even the energy exists in several forms. That energy transformation are responsible for various activities. Various activities means whether it will going to change from this chemical to mechanical, mechanical to electrical, and electrical to chemical, based on by different means, by using fuel cell, electrolyzer, from chemical to mechanical, IC engine, gas turbine, jet engines, and through mechanical to electrical or electrical to mechanical by means of electric motor and generator. So this is the basic idea, or what we generally know about the energy. Basically, it's transferred from one form to another form. Now, based on this energy, there are two different ways we generally know, that is renewable energy and non-renewable energy. Renewable energy are the clean source form of energy which is derived from the nature itself. Over here, that is the hydropower energy, solar energy, biomass energy, wind energy, and geothermal energy. Whereas the non-renewable energy are generally energy derived from the fossil fuel, or which cannot be used again and again, natural gases, nuclear, from nuclear. These are the basic idea about the renewable and non-renewable sources. So first we are going to have an idea about the energy from sun. So generally, how energy generally works by means of photovoltaic, photoelectric cell, using this, and the main purpose of using this solar is heating water, cooking food, used to power satellites. Even this is a renewable, as it is going to be work as till the sun is there. And main advantage is that it is free of cost, does not need fuel, produce no waste. But major disadvantage of this is required large power cell and quite expensive. Right now, various researchers are going on the field of solar in order to make the photovoltaic material as well as the component more cheaper as compared to the previous one. So there are lot of applications are going to have of this solar panel in order to power the different means, just like our pump, railway signals, battery charging, solar lamp, refrigeration, oil rig, PVC, domestic and heating purpose, PVT integrated, photovoltaic integrated buildings also. These photovoltaic integrated buildings are also called as smart buildings. Okay, smart buildings or energy efficient buildings we generally are most popular nowadays. Now next is the wind energy. As we know that energy from moving wind, and using this wind, electrical energy is being generated by means of mechanical energy used to produce to power satellites. And this is no need fuel is required, and does not have enough. But for the production of wind energy, huge investment is required. Huge investment means that it cannot be installed anywhere. It depends upon the area from where the air bridges are going to cross. So based on this, the location is the major limitation, or we call this as a disadvantage of production of wind energy. Next is the ocean, through ocean energy or tidal waves using this. So the waves are having enough potential to produce an electric to produce an energy from this. And using this another various core technology, CETO technology and another technology has been developed in order to utilize this energy from the waves. So from this figure we can see that these waves and CETO technology, using these waves we can generate enough power to power a grid. So major advantage is this: there is no emission to in generation of electricity. And this but main disadvantage is that it requires huge investment over here. Next is the geothermal energy, that is energy derived from the below the crust. So generally it is being generated on that place where the core of the earth or the tectonic plates are quite gets heated up during summer and winter. So using this, generally they used for CHP purpose. CHP purpose means cooling or heating purpose. So generally in Canada and California area, this type of the energy generation from the geothermal is been conventionally been used over there. These are the advantages, and some disadvantages are there. They are dangerous gases are consequently also comes out when the this energy is been produced. So at the time of production of this geothermal station, production of energy from geothermal station, various geographical characteristics we have to keep in mind. And next is the hydroelectricity, that is generally electricity being produced by means of water. A dam is being constructed, and using this dam, a channel or spillway penstoke has been opened so that it is going to power up the run the turbine. So this is the most conventional form of electricity, production of electricity, which is used in our country. And now the new form of energy, that is through biofuel or the energy from organic material, has introduced nowadays. So generally our government is also trying to emphasize us to use biofuel or energy which is derived from some another means rather than fossil fuel. So this is the future of energy. By means of biofuel, we're going to revolutionize the the power generation and the utilization of energy in the future. Next is the energy from other sources, that is tidal, nuclear, waste, and last one and the new technology, that is the hydrogen cell that converts hydrogen gas and oxygen to electricity. So this is the main topic in which I am going to brief all the things, as I have worked in this field, and how we can use this hydrogen cells for the power generation, and how nowadays how we can make a system hybrid. So related to this, we are going to have a next presentation in this. So generally, a fuel cell is an electrochemical device that converts chemical energy into electrical energy by means of electrochemical reaction of hydrogen containing fuel and oxygen or oxidizing agent. So basically, a difference between the fuel and a battery is that fuel cell requires a continuous source or supply of fuel and oxygen, while in battery the chemical energy already stored within the battery. So by means of electrolyte there will be a electrochemical reaction. So based on this the battery works. But for fuel cell, continuous supply of fuel and oxygen should be there. So this is in a simple diagram over here. We can see that there is two channels are there. From one channel fuel is been introduced. Here yellow arrow shows the fuel intake portion, and this blue portion shows the oxygen intake portion. Through this a membrane is there, sandwich membrane, that using this electrochemical reaction takes place, and direct DC current will going to be produced over here, and through an alternator we will going to convert in a AC form, which can be utilized for an household or other applications. So this is in a chronological development of a fuel cell. The fuel cell has been first introduced in 1839 by William Grove, the first electrochemical reaction to produce electricity or energy. Then GE developed a solid oxide ion exchange ion, that is H2, which has been used by NASA, and then GE in 1960 collaborate with NASA in order to explore space, and they use this type of fuel cell in various space exploration programs just like Apollo. And then there are different types of fuels has been discovered after 1960s, that is the phosphoric acid fuel cell, SOFC solid oxide fuel cell, molten carbonate fuel cell. Once the advancement in the fuel cell in late 1960s or even in 1970s, the scientists and the researchers are trying to bring the fuel cell for a vehicle purpose also. So they have started the experimentation in the introducing the fuel cell in the vehicle. Later in 1990, California Air Resource Board introduced a zero emission vehicle, generally which is being powered by a fuel cell. Then fuel cell buses has been introduced, and in 2007 APU system and other different applications has been developed by the Honda as well as in the Japan for CHP purpose. So lots of applications has been introduced by the as per the requirement of fuel cell. Generally fuel cell consists of five components, that is electrode, electrolyte, catalyst, bipolar plate and gas diffusion layer. So using this, a sandwich plate is being placed over here. So here we can see that layers are being placed over here. So a channel is there in which a fuel and air will going to be supplied, and fuel is hydrogen, and oxidizing agent is oxygen, through which electrochemical reaction takes place, and this sandwich of this plate is further been repeated in order to make it a cell in a series form. Okay, so from this, and we can see that electrochemical reaction is being takes place over here. So there is a gas diffusion layer is also there over here. So we can briefly see that how the molecule and the gas ion going to interact with each other in presence of catalyst, and after having some certain chemical reaction over here, they generally cross the boundary and cross the boundary or energy boundary in order to produce enough power. So generally we can, in the 11th and 12th we already studied about, for any ions there should be an any activation charge has been there. Once we supply the activation charge, then the ion gets activated in order to produce a power. So there the same concept is being used over here in the fuel cell by means of three-phase boundary. Three-phase boundary, which means that where the ions are exist in three forms: gaseous, electrical, and ionic form. So generally using this fuel cell generally works on the principle of three-phase boundary. So from this we can compare a fuel cell with an internal combustion engine. As the thermal energy, there is from the energy, chemical energy of fuel is being utilized using an engine. A thermal energy has been there, which has been further been converted into mechanical energy, and this mechanical energy is been integrated with some other motor in order to utilize with the electrical energy component, and this component we can further be split over here. So this is in a schematic of energy conversion of fuel cell and an internal combustion engine. So generally for the production of energy from the fuel, the required integration of thermal, that is two engines are required, that is internal combustion engine 1 and internal combustion engine 2 and internal combustion 3. But using this fuel cell, we can directly produce an electricity from the fuel. So generally using this, we are going to use the fuel to power up the various systems. Next, we are going to have the fuel as a power alternative. So from this, we can see that there is an engine is been placed over here, IC engine, and a fuel cell is been there. As compared to an engine and a fuel cell is quite compact as compared to engine, and the power production of the fuel cell is quite high as compared to this IC engine. So there are some advantages and disadvantages are also listed over here. So the main difference is the working principle, that is and their efficiency. For IC engine, there is a limitation that it does not cross the limit of Carnot efficiency. But in case of fuel cell, that principle of Carnot is not going to be applicable, because this is an electrochemical device, not a machine. So Carnot cycle, Carnot theory is not going to be applicable for the fuel cell. So this is the major advantages of the fuel cell. Therefore it can be integrated with the other system in order to increase the overall efficiency. Overall efficiency means that we can increase the thermal efficiency as well as the other efficiency by using the fuel cell with this system. So how we were going to use this system, we are going to see in the next slide. So here we can see that energy, high energy conversion over here. So generally this yellow curve, red curve shows the Carnot efficiency, and this blue curve shows the thermal efficiency. Generally thermal efficiency is a ratio of Gibbs free energy as well as the enthalpy over here. So this at this standard temperature and pressure, whereas the Carnot is Carnot efficiency is the out minus in upon out. So this is under standard equation which we have already studied in our previous classes. So based on this, the rate of conversion of as well as the yield of efficiency is quite different over here. So as we have already discussed about the application of fuel cell in the previously, it was being used to power up rockets and industrial gas. Currently it is being used in various vehicles just like our two-wheeler fuel cell powered vehicles are there, forklift trucks are there, fuel cell buses are there. Tata right now is working on the field of fuel cell buses to make it more efficient, as well as it also working on a EV vehicles also. Okay, these are some other diversified applications over here which can be used in aircraft, plane, fuel cell powered scooter, portable fuel cells, even in our locomotive we can use. So these are the some typical applications where the fuel cells are quite being used, and this is a fuel cell spectrum on which how they were going to use for generation of power from size 0 to 10 to the power 6. So how we were going to use the fuel cell to power up different application from cell to power grid. Okay, and these are the some pictures of fuel cell vehicle by various automakers. This is for the Honda FCV3, Toyota, General Motor, Ford, Daimler, Hyundai, Volkswagen, Nissan. These are the some major or automotive leaders who have generally worked in the field of integration of fuel cell with with their vehicles. So here there is some layout of an Honda which uses a fuel cell powertrain in order to run the car. So this is the different technological development as per year and their name and their driving range also. So here the Honda FCX V3, which is designed in 2012, which has a capability to run around 180 kilometer range, and which yields a power of 60 kilowatt. So later on, once this power production are going to be increased slowly, and their ranges are also being increased. Ranges from 400 kilometer or 430 miles. So based on this, these are the chronological development of the fuel cell in the field of automotive. Now these are the concepts of hydrogen stations in order to power up this fuel cell vehicle. So this type of hydrogen station are quite common in the California and in the US region, where this is a fuel cell powered bus is there, which having a 90 kilowatt PEFC fuel cell stack. PEFC, that polymer electrolyte fuel cell, and which also having a hydrogen tank over here, which has been compressed at 350 megapascal and having a 150 liter. So based on this, this is a fuel cell powered bus. So this fuel cell is also been used for a residential purpose also. This is a home. So using this fuel cell, heating and cooling applications can be run over here in order to power up the electrical appliances of household thing. So these are the generally types of fuel cell. Generally there are 4 types of fuel cell, 5 types of fuel cell are there. These are being classified based on their efficiency, application and status. So, and most important thing, their operating temperature. So their at temperature, this alkaline fuel cell operates at a degree of 60 degree, whereas PEMFC, that is polymer electrolyte membrane fuel cell, runs at a temperature of 80 degree centigrade, whereas phosphoric acid 200 degree centigrade, molten carbonate fuel cell runs at 650, and this solid oxide fuel cell, that is 1000 degrees. So these two applications, these two fuel cell, that is MCFC and the SOFC, are the high temperature fuel cell which can be used for power generation of power for the power plants as well as for the a region where high temperature is been required over here. So here this is from this we can see that this is a fuel plus of the basic chemistry regarding the fuel cell and the thermodynamics over here. So there is generally a Gibbs free energy is an product of enthalpy as well as the entropy over here. So enthalpy can be converted into electricity within a fuel cell, which is composed of a Gibbs free energy. So using this concept, we are going to have a power over here. So the effect of temperature is also there, that if the more will be the temperature will be there, so higher will be the voltage over here. So based on this concept, this is the basic maximum yield voltage for an system of an fuel cell as per the thermodynamics. Okay, so there is an Gibbs free energy Nast equation is there. So based on this, how the fuel cell will going to produce a power. So using these equations, we generally use to study that how cell potential is higher for reactant as well as for the product. So this is the basic electrochemistry in which electrokinematics is there, and there is some standard equations are being used in order to check the exchange current density. Exchange current density is generally a charge or analogous which represents the rate of chemical reaction over here. So using this Nast potential equation, we are going to calculate the free energy, and that is we called as a maximum energy of a cell. But in every system there are some losses are also there. Losses are in terms of irreversibility or polarization. This polarization in every cell, you can see that there are three types of polarization are there. That is ohmic, activation and concentration polarization are there. So using this activation polarization, concentration polarization, losses takes place. So voltage losses generally takes place, and using this curve we can represent that as the current density varies, the cell potential tends to decrease. So this is a standard form of an electrochemical reaction. Using this we are going to predict the cell performance. So these are some of the standard equations, and this we can see that this region is the theoretical EMF or ideal voltage. And once we are going to apply the losses over here, so this is the activation losses or activation polarization. In mid there is an ohmic polarization, and at last we are going to have a concentration polarization. So these are the some polarization which affects the cell performance, and this cell performance is further bit affected by means of this some other parameter, that's like exchange of current density, exchange of ion transfer, limited current density, internal resistance, operating pressure, air and oxygen. These are the some graphs, or we call it as a results, which are based on different parameters which affects the polarization curve. So based on these assumptions and the polarization curve, the performance has been predicted in form of cell voltage and a power density over here. So generally fuel cell, which is quite common for a generation of power for a mechanical system, generally we use solid oxide fuel cell. A solid oxide fuel cell is a high temperature fuel cell which comes in a two form, that is a tubular construction, and this one in the sandwich form, in which channels are there, and through one channel the fuel is going to be introduced, and from another channel the air is being supplied, and there is an anode, electrolyte and cathode. Through this electrochemical reaction takes place. So using this, the power is being generated, and these are the some standard electrochemical reaction, that is steam reforming, water gas shift reaction, simultaneously takes place within the cell in order to produce the electricity. So this is a basic working principle of an fuel cell over here. Now we were going to have a next part, that how we were going to integrate this fuel cell with the gas turbine, okay, in order to make it hybrid one. So before starting, first we have to know about what is gas turbine. Generally, the gas turbine works on the principle of Brayton cycle, which has been developed by Sir George Brayton as an American engineer in 1830. This Brayton cycle is also called as Joule cycle, and in 1872 it has been patented by a Reddy motor. Unlike this Otto and diesel cycle, a separate compressor is being used over here. The major application of this gas turbine used in ship propulsion, aircraft engine, and gas turbine based power plant. So this gas turbine cycle has been classified in two forms, that is open cycle gas turbine and closed cycle gas turbine, which you have already studied in your previous semester or in this current semester. So this is an open cycle gas turbine. In this, the working fluid does not confined within the cycle. Here this is a closed gas turbine cycle. Closed means the working fluid, that is air, is confined within the cycle. Okay, so there is no fresh air is being introduced over here. So these are the PV and the TS diagram over here, and these are the some basic standard equation or governing equation we called it as, which can be used for thermodynamic analysis for predicting the thermal performance of an mechanical components. So these are the standard equation for compressor, combustion chamber, turbine, and a heat exchanger. So based on this, we predict the performance, and the overall performance of a gas turbine has been predicted by using this expression. This pressure ratio depends upon the specific heat of an air. So how this is a basic conventional gas turbine, which have an ideal thermal efficiency, generally ranges to 30 to 35% max. But this efficiency can be improved by addition of some further components. Further components means that we can integrate regeneration, intercooler, reheating, integrating fuel cell. Integrating fuel cell, we can make it most energy efficient power cycle. Most energy efficient power cycle means that suppose the fuel cell efficiency ranges between around 70 to 60%, and the gas turbine efficiency ranges between 30 to 35. So combining both the system, we can achieve till now around 70 to 80% efficiency we have achieved. So there are some other typical configurations are also there in order to combine different systems over here. Fuel cell with the Brayton cycle, fuel cell with co-gasification, Brayton cycle, even Rankine cycle also can be integrated over here. And these are the some application which can be used for different power generation for ship, and the energy source is the natural gas, and right now their development stage is also shown over here in the extreme right column in the concept as well as demonstration form. So right now in India, CSR lab is generally working in this field in order to make our existing power plants of our just like Reliance Power as well as Tata Power, to make it hybrid one. Make it hybrid one, but generally in India, most of the power plant generally works on the coal, but due to deficiency in coal, the government is having a limited amount of supply over here. So in order to make a reserve for that, the government take an initiative and give an instruction to our CSR lab to